a seat for you. Impending retirement, and so I thought what we do is before we have a presentation of a few gifts that we have for him, maybe take the chance to open up the floor to people to share any thoughts that they have, any stories they have about Tom, or warm wishes. And so we don't have to go into any more.
I was retired for the last 2 years.
No, it's been 25.
When I first got hired by EDT, I was interviewed by the faculty at SET, and Tom said one thing I'll never forget. We're trying to teach the engineer of 30 years ago. Those are the guys I admire, the ones I worked with for 30 years. So I was kind of happy to get the job. And it worked out real good. I took Tom's class, and I wish those kids would think I'm doing it.
No, he did behave himself.
I don't believe that. No way.
Hey, your check's in the mail, buddy. No problem.
And Herb's the other one that they So anyway, those are the But I would be right to you about it. I'm sorry.
No way.
Will you apologize to us too, because they would always come and whine and complain to us as well.
No, you didn't. About how to work with students, how to care about them, and still hold them to a high standard. I have used him as a confident, really good friend, and before I step out of engineering and become a girl and start crying, I will just say, just a really awesome, awesome person. And I will certainly miss him, as will all the students and all of us.
Okay, well, one of the things that I remember most about Tom was Tom would always look at me and say, "We can't do that, can we?" Because, as you know, I sometimes would bend rules. And so I actually found it a joy to try to horrify Tom. And Tom used to take it pretty well. I do remember Tom calling me to talk about a project with Russ Hazen and myself. We happened to be at a conference, and when he called, well, we had to keep changing because it was my turn to take a stroke. We were on the golf course. So I said, "You guys." So he's shaking his head. And I remember doing a presentation at a meeting one time. Tom, as you know, is a logical engineer. And he works out the problems in his head before the meeting. Okay? About his love of tools. I encourage you to tour the museum sometime. You know it is your basement. But it's amazing the history of tools, and Tom has a real appreciation for the history of tools.
That's only half of it. The other half's the Portland's.
Bring a drool ready for
Yeah, exactly. Well, the negative side of it is my wife blames Tom for my desire to have more tools in my home. So, anyways, but I want to concur with what Jude said, is that when I look at how today's student is compared to when I was an undergrad, and I'm already doing the back in my day, well, I look at Tom and I'd come in and I'd be whining about something about a student. And Tom was always very practical, and he'd say, "Okay, understand where these students come from." And even though what they experience now at 18 in their lives, he would always try to set himself in their position and say, "Understand, they didn't repair the lawnmower as a kid. They didn't do some of the things that maybe we did as kids." And would bring me back in to kind of stop your whining, Scott, slap me around a bit. But to really put the student mind first. And I think that was the strength of his teaching, is that he would bring the students along, he would take them from where they were and try to challenge them. And so I learned an awful lot from you, Tom, and you're a good friend. Learned a lot from you about your spiritual side, your logic side, and I have true respect for you as an engineer and as a professor. Thanks.
I've had the opportunity to get to know Tom, and I've been to the basement, which is really quite a magical place, and he has all these contemporary machines. So I don't know how old the tools start, but they go quite modern. And so I had this idea, and I, not being an engineer, more artistic type, had this idea that he was going to help me figure out how to make something happen. I needed a groove in a piece of driftwood. And I, it was really clear in my head, but I had no idea how to make this actually happen. So he brought me over to the house, showed me how to set things up, and then programmed this machine to do what I needed it to do. And it took a while, and he was so patient. And I really admire that quality because I don't have it. So you have the skill and the patience to implement that. But I have a sense of probably what it was like, maybe to be a good student in one of his classes, because he was very kind and very patient as I tried to learn. And so thank you for that opportunity. I really appreciate it. And it's been good to get to know Debbie as well. So good luck in your travels.
Kind of left brain. It's a pleasure to work with somebody in their right mind. Not you. I discovered that I started teaching in the fall of '71, and I'd forgotten that. And students have changed a little bit since then, as Scott said, and there's a piece of what we are called to do as faculty that hasn't changed, but our input student, whatever you want to call that part of the product, is a little different. I think they're a little more confused than they used to be. Maybe that's just myopic on my part. But it's been a fun ride. Working at the university is not at all what I expected it to be way back then. Between the politics and the rest of the issues around the university, there are parts of that I could live without. But to be honest with you, I wouldn't trade the last 40 years of working with 18 to 22-year-olds or even into their 80s. I've had some elderly students as well. It's been fun. It's been truly enjoyable, and hopefully made a difference. I want to thank you all for being colleagues. As Herb said, I was ag engineering for a lot of years, and we had a lot of programs where we shared students back and forth, and so SET and I go back a long way, about to where it started. So thank you. I appreciate it.
They do get a gift, but on Tom's, the university being right on time, will deliver it, they said, around July. So we'll get a rocker at that point.
I can sit.
This is a little gift signed by the faculty. Just some thoughts, and it includes pictures of various buildings from around the university. You may have observed the construction of many of them. Anyways, I hope you enjoy that, Tom, and just a little gift to go along with it. So, thank you. Okay. Well, feel free. Yes.
That's easy. What's happening there is